George, thank you. Good evening. You're watching Wednesday's Look North.
On the programme tonight, the villagers clocking speeding drivers on behalf of police in North Yorkshire. Drivers' groups have criticised the scheme, which could be rolled out across the county.
Also tonight, winners and losers, how Yorkshire's businesses are coping with the falling value of the pound.
And here in Barnsley, we'll be finding out why suddenly we've got the chance to watch the Wales men's #1 and the women's world #2, Laura Massaro, in action.
And how a stowaway snake called Keith shocked a couple and their dog as they drove their new car on the motorway.
And we're really hanging on to that cold air over the next few days. Feeling chilly? Stay tuned for a full forecast shortly.
Good evening, thank you for joining us. First tonight, police have denied that they're creating vigilantes by giving cameras to members of the public to help catch speeding motorists.
The first of a series of village camera teams to be set up across North Yorkshire was officially launched today in Pannell on the outskirts of Harrogate. Police say villagers are demanding to join the schemes and that if they help save the life of just one person, they're worthwhile. Our correspondent John Cundy has the story.
Over the years, the village of Pannell has become something of a rat run for motorists trying to avoid the busy town centre of Harrogate. Police and residents alike agree it's time for action here. Howard West, 23 years, a resident in Pannell, is one of the volunteers operating the new community speed cam.
People want to get to where they want to go in the shortest time possible, and unfortunately they speed. But since we've been here, it's made a dramatic effect, and the speed has been reduced dramatically.
A full report on anyone speeding will be sent to Police HQ. The motorist will at first get a warning letter and a possible prosecution if that driver is caught speeding again.
The pilot here has shown, and the first stages of what they've been doing in Pannell has shown that motorists have reduced their speed, and actually after getting a letter they do take notice. People have stopped and had conversations and they weren't aware they were speeding.
The Deputy Chief Constable and Police Commissioner Julia Mulligan launched the scheme in Pannell today. Can I put it to you that some people will say the word vigilantes?
Well, this is a community coming together saying we don't like speeding in our village, it's affecting our way of life, we're frightened when we take our kids to school, when we cross the road, and we want to try and do something about it.
Residents say there have already been clear results from the pilot of the Pannell scheme before today's official launch.
It's been hugely successful. We've seen a dramatic reduction in the number of speeding vehicles. When we first started off, we were getting about 20 speeding vehicles an hour in one direction only. Now that's flattened out to about one speeding vehicle an hour, so there's been a dramatic reduction.
Police claim other villages across North Yorkshire are now keen to adapt the idea themselves of taking up the speed gun to stop motorists who just won't observe the speed limits. John Cundy, BBC Look North, Pannell, near Harrogate.
Well, Brian Gregory is from the Alliance of British Drivers. I asked him what he thinks about the idea of the scheme.
Well, I think there's a number of issues with it, really, Phil. Firstly, there's an underlying presumption there that all road traffic accidents are actually caused by people breaking speed limits, and nothing can actually be further from the truth. Somewhere around 3 to 5% of road traffic accidents are caused by people breaking the speed limit, and invariably those people are so perceptually impaired by drugs and or alcohol that nothing's going to stop them, be it speed cameras or sometimes even police patrols. There's evidence from Australia where they're even more keen on speed limit adherence than we are, that actually if you force people to drive so that they're so concerned about going over the speed limit, it introduces almost a kind of tunnel vision, and they actually then focus only on the speedometer and what's going on inside the car, and they become virtually oblivious to other road users, pedestrians, cyclists and so on, and actually makes conditions more dangerous rather than less.
But surely you must understand the concerns of the local villages. I mean, after all, we know of one fatality in that village, so they have a right, don't they, to expect drivers to adhere to those limits?
As long as they're sensibly set, absolutely. The limits need to be set according to what the best road safety practice is, and that's using the 85th percentile principle, where you set the speed limits so that 85% of the traffic travels at or below that speed. But if you set limits away from that, you won't get good compliance. Drivers just won't respect them.
So do you think we should
there has to be a balance here.
Should we be recalibrating our speed limits in towns and villages then, do you think?
We should be evaluating them to see whether they're sensible relative to the prevailing road configurations, absolutely. But in many cases, that would mean speed limits going up rather than down. And that does not necessarily mean an increase in accidents. There are many examples of speed limits being increased and accidents actually reducing. OK, Brian Gregory from the Alliance of British Drivers, thank you very much for coming on today.
And we'll have more reaction to that story on the late news at 10 o'clock. Next tonight, it was Look North that broke the story about HS2 changing tracks in South Yorkshire. And since then, the communities affected have made their anger clear.
Yesterday, they've gone a step further. They've produced their own report which rubbishes claims made by HS2, the company who will build the line. The campaigners say the government has been lied to and their document proves it. Tom Ingle has followed the story from the very start and he's in Sheffield for us tonight. So, Tom, what exactly is in this new report?
Amy, it might be simpler to say what isn't in it, because it is absolutely chock full of arguments the campaigners think they can use with the government to derail plans for the high-speed rail link as it goes between Sheffield and Leeds. You'll remember earlier this year we broke the news that HS2, rather than putting their station out at Meadowhall, are going to build a branch line to Sheffield city centre station behind me and then go around the side of South Yorkshire, if you like, much closer to Doncaster than they'd ever previously envisaged. Now, this report, all 83 pages of it, was unveiled by the communities who've drawn it up today before they take it down to the desk of the Department of Transport Secretary Chris Grayling. What they're saying is, when HS2 said, here's our new route, we don't want the Meadowhall one anymore, HS2 said it will be simpler to build, it will be £1 billion cheaper to build, and we won't have to knock down so many properties. The campaigners are saying they reject all of those facts, and here are the evidence we've gleaned from the documents we've studied over the summer to prove it. Now, I put it to the campaigners, this is just a case of not in my backyard, isn't it? And that's something they strenuously denied.
It is going to be 4 times noisier. It is going to be massively impacting. We are going to have a 50-foot high wall that will be 4 times the height of the Berlin Wall. We will have a depot which is 2 kilometres long. So, you know, we are not against infrastructure, but there are reasons, and we're getting triple whammied.
But all those arguments come back to not in my back garden.
No, not at all. This is the whole point about this is that, you know, if Crofton was the only place that HS2 high-speed line could go through, then we would have to reluctantly accept it.
So what about HS2? Have we heard what they think to today's report?
Yes, they've been under pressure since July to come up with facts and figures to placate angry residents who, quite understandably, have had their tempers stoked because they were nowhere near this railway line until we broke the news in July that suddenly there was this change of route. Today, HS2 were repeatedly pressed on BBC Radio Sheffield on the breakfast programme with Toby Foster. He asked them how many houses will be demolished if you choose this new route. And they couldn't put down a precise figure. They say that information will become public once the change of route has been decided upon. But they still are absolutely adamant this new route proposal is far better than the Meadowhall route.
This M18 route proposal provides better connectivity around the region because we can provide that Leeds city centre to Sheffield city centre fast, frequent route in a cost-effective way. But that also then allows us to start freeing up capacity on the existing network as we put more of the longer distance journeys onto HS2 and therefore it gives the best mix of connectivity for the region.
Tom, when do we find out which route the government have chosen?
Artificial law decision. Fairly soon, we understand. It's Chris Grayling, the Department of Transport, the Minister for Transport, who will make the decision. I'm hearing there may be some news in the autumn statement, but equally it could be pushed on into the long grass after that.
Tom, thank you.
Later on tonight's Look North.
Remarkable work. Celebrating the West Yorkshire charity that supports parents who are told their children may not have long to live.
OK, let's get some news in brief now. West Yorkshire is finally getting a permanent chief constable. Police and Crime Commissioner Mark Burns-Williamson has announced it'll be Dee Collins, who was temporarily appointed to the role after Mark Gilmore was suspended in 2014. He's now retired. Dee Collins' appointment will be confirmed at a hearing later this month.
2 protesters were arrested in Sheffield today after refusing to leave a cordon set up to allow a tree to be felled. The tree on Marden Road in the Nether Edge part of the city was due to be cut down this morning but was surrounded by protesters. It's said to have been causing damage to the pavement and a nearby property. South Yorkshire Police used industrial law to arrest the 2 men who refused to move, after which work on removing the tree began.
A temporary campsite for homeless people has been set up outside Park Hill Flats in Sheffield. It's been called Tent City and aims to get more support for homeless people and raise the profile of the problem. The council says it's now working with the organisers of the campsite and is moving people who are sleeping rough there into more secure accommodation.
It saves the hassle of all the services and the charities from going in and out of the city, under bridges, behind abandoned factories and buildings. If you have everything in one spot, then absolutely everything what is set up as a safety net can hit it in the one place.
The Batley and Spen MP Tracy Brabin has been applauded in Parliament after using her maiden speech to pay tribute to her friend and predecessor, Jo Cox. The former Coronation Street and EastEnders actress was elected a fortnight ago. She said the killing of Mrs Cox would stay with everyone in the constituency for the rest of their lives. And she praised local people who live by Mrs Cox's values, rejecting hatred and division.
It was in her maiden speech that Jo said, "What surprises me time and time again as I travel around the constituency is that we are far more united and have far more in common than that which divides us." It was true then, and it is even more the case now. We will never forget the difference Jo has made, and through her legacy continues to make. She was and is unforgettable.
The parents of a baby girl from Huddersfield, who were told she was unlikely to live for long after birth, are about to celebrate her first birthday.
The family, who have been receiving specialist care from the Forget-Me-Not Children's Hospice since pregnancy, say every day is a blessing. Our health correspondent Jamie Coulson reports.
Happy birthday to you. Baby Shalom is about to celebrate her first birthday. It's a significant milestone for a child who doctors initially thought might be stillborn or only survive a short time after birth. It was during the 20-week scan her parents were first told there were significant development problems with her brain. Subsequent tests suggested that if Shalom did survive, she'd have no quality of life.
We were told she'd have one eye, one nostril, possibly a mouth. And when you're told that your child is incompatible with life, it absolutely shakes your world.
Shalom's parents refused the termination, and their little girl was born last November with plans not to resuscitate. But 1 week later she was transferred home, and her parents say every day since has been a blessing.
Every day is a rollercoaster. We have moments where we think, is this it? And sometimes you wonder if she's better been at peace, because it breaks your heart when she's in pain. But we wouldn't change this for the world. I mean, when you see how much she lights up with attention and a bit of love and just being looked at and being held, it's amazing.
Shalom, who's that?
Shalom's family have been supported throughout by the Forget-Me-Not Children's Hospice in Huddersfield, which looks after around 250 families. Nurses in the perinatal team specialise in helping families who've been given a devastating diagnosis through the pregnancy, birth and sometimes death of their babies.
Sadly, the diagnosis of the baby, we're unable to change that, but to be able to offer them support 24 hours a day from the point of diagnosis all the way through their journey, however long or short that is, makes that a really rewarding job.
So far, the specialist nurses in the perinatal team here have helped around 80 families, both during pregnancy and after birth, but they estimate they're probably only reaching about 25% of the families who need them.
We do cherish every moment with her, and we just kind of, you know, we have that foresight to know that we won't have her forever, but at least we can prepare ourselves for that, and the hospice does really help us
Shalom's future remains uncertain. It's unlikely she'll ever walk or talk, and her condition will eventually deteriorate. But in her short life, Shalom has defied expectations. Jamie Coulson, BBC Look North.
Happy birthday, Shalom. You know, they do some wonderful work there. I was lucky enough to visit Forget-Me-Not a couple of years ago for children in need, and it's a remarkable place.
She's a brave little girl, and we wish her well for the future.
Absolutely. Next tonight, the fall in the value of the pound following the EU referendum has made it more expensive for us to go on holiday. But in terms of business, there are winners and losers here in Yorkshire.
Yes, companies that sell abroad are benefiting because their products have become cheaper to buy. But anyone importing materials has seen costs rise. Our business correspondent Danny Hewson has been investigating.
Andy doesn't claim he makes the perfect brownie, but he's sure he comes pretty close. His Rotherham-based business started as a kitchen table enterprise, but soon expanded to keep up with demand. He believes quality is everything for a small company, and raw materials are no exception. The problem is, since June, costs have been going up.
A lot of our manufactured suppliers are blaming it on the devaluation of the pound. Obviously, Belgian chocolate, your box of eggs, for example, they'll say the reason why they've gone up is because the packaging is imported, hence the price increase, regardless of the fact that the chickens are running around Yorkshire.
And it's not small numbers. Some costs have risen by 30%, leaving him in a very sticky situation.
A lot of our products are sold in coffee shops, bars, delis, and there's a certain pricing point that people would pay for a piece of cake or a chocolate brownie. So we have to pretty much bite the bullet for now and wait and see if there's any more increases in any more of the ingredients before we make a decision of pretty much how much of our profit margin we will have to swallow.
Of course, where there have been losers, there have also been winners, primarily for people exporting, and that includes Yorkshire sheep farmers.
Come on, sheep! Come on!
38% of British sheep meat is exported to Europe, so the weakness of a pound against the euro is having a benefit, as well as there's been some good promotions in the UK this year for lamb and beef.
But Will's a pragmatist. Though he himself believes the new landscape will benefit farmers in the long run, he does acknowledge the short term could still be bumpy.
All I'm doing at the moment is consolidating my business and trying to future-proof it against volatility of the world markets.
Two sides of the same pound coin, a coin valued at a 30-year low, with no guarantees of what happens next. Danny Hewson, BBC Look North, Ravenscar.
A quick look at last night's football now, and I'm afraid it's not getting any better for poor old Chesterfield at the moment. The Spiralites played at Coventry in League One, hoping to end their bad run at last. But when chances came, they failed again. And Coventry's eventual 2-0 victory was Chesterfield's 7th defeat on the run. They stay in the relegation zone with just 12 points from 16 matches so far.
Let's turn to squash now. It's a sport which Yorkshire has a worldwide reputation for, and rightly so. After all, the last two men's singles finals at the Commonwealth Games have pitted two Yorkshiremen against each other, Nick Matthew and James Willstrop.
And now the current women's world number 2 has decided to come and play her team squash in Barnsley this season. And Paul Ogden is there with her tonight. Oggy, it's all yours.
Thanks, Phil. I didn't quite believe my ears when I heard it either, but that really is Laura Massaro in the background, coaching the kids here at Barnsley Squash Club. Here at Shore Lane, it's a very ambitious, historically significant sporting centre for Barnsley. Darren Gough cut his teeth here on the cricket field behind us, and they're ambitious in terms of their squash team as well, because they've recruited not just Laura Massaro but also the Wales number 1, who goes by the name of Joel Makin. He's made his new home here in Yorkshire as well, and I need to talk to the man who's made it all happen, Richard Maxwell of Barnsley Squash Club. How on earth did you entice these wonderful squash players here, Rich?
Well, basically we've got a good setup at Barnsley. We've got some strong teams running in other leagues, and over the last 2 seasons we've fortunately managed to win the Yorkshire Premier League, which has attracted more and more players. We've got a really good, strong sponsorship package at Barnsley, and again which encourages the better players to come along and play for us.
And there's a match here tonight, isn't there?
Yeah, we've got a match tonight against Dunnington, who are a very, very strong team. They've got the world number 20 potentially playing tonight. So it should be some good, exciting squash tonight.
Well, more power to you, Richard. You're obviously very ambitious and very persuasive. And people can come down here and enjoy the talents of these wonderful people, as well as in future, those are the youngsters who, in the background, are being coached by Laura Massaro herself. Sorry to interrupt you, Laura. You're obviously having fun there and warming up for your match tonight. A belated welcome to Yorkshire. We're delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
But, and I mean this in a kind way, why would you want to come here?
Well, I just heard how passionate and well-run the squash is down in Barnsley, and for me personally, obviously playing on the PSA World Tour for most of the season, it's a great way for me to come and play a men's league, get some really good quality matches in and just sharpen me up. And, you know, what better place to do it than a great squash club running fantastic programmes down here.
When you coach the youngsters, as we've seen you doing briefly there, can you see yourself from years ago?
Definitely. I mean, we all started out just, you know, hitting a ball. I just asked them all how long they've been playing for, and it's just 2 or 3 years. So, you know, we've all been in that position, and it's just, you know, falling in love with the sport and making sure that, you know, you want to bring a passion and a drive to it, and then, you know, as I know, it can turn into your profession and, you know, playing your hobby for a job, really.
Absolutely. Well, it's great to have you here. How long have we got you for? Because you travel the globe doing what you do for a living.
Yeah, well, I'm actually around for a good couple of months now. I'm playing for England in the World Team Championship, so the team got announced today. That's in Paris at the end of November. And then I'm here until we play Tournament of Champions in Grand Central Station in New York, which is an amazing setting. So hopefully I'll get as many matches as I can and come over to Yorkshire a bit more.
And keep influences these youngsters from Barnsley Squash Club. Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Look North, Laura.
No problem.
And good luck in Yorkshire. You can come down here to Shore Lane and Barnsley Squash Club to watch for free. Next week, they play away, men and ladies, against Hallamshire, which is the club that Nick Matthew belongs to. It is all happening in Yorkshire here in the world of squash.
Oggy, thank you very much, live there in Barnsley tonight. Now next to the slippery customer who gave a couple travelling in their new car the shock of their lives. The couple had bought the vehicle in South Yorkshire and were travelling home to Bristol on the M5 when a corn snake appeared from nowhere inside the vehicle and wrapped itself around their pet dog's leg.
Oh, it makes me shudder just thinking about it, actually. After the commotion, the snake vanished behind a plastic panel and wasn't found again for a few days. Can you imagine driving the car knowing
Really?
there's a snake somewhere in it?
In the car, yeah.
However, it's now been traced back to the original owners of the car who live in Sheffield. Ian White is far braver than we are, and he's been to meet them.
Well, hello, welcome to Sheffield, and I know you want to meet the star of tonight's show. This is Keith, the corn snake, and Jack, who's 8, and you're the owner, aren't you?
Yeah.
He's great. He looks amazing, and he looks very well considering his ordeal. You must be pleased to have him back.
Yeah, I'm really pleased.
It's been quite an ordeal for him, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Missing since June?
Yep.
Wow, but he's looking good. Can they survive well without food?
Yeah, they can survive for at least 5 months.
That's amazing.
5, 6.
I bet he was hungry when he got home eventually. Now, the story is, of course, that you didn't know where he was. You sold your car. Some people came up from Bristol to collect the car from the garage, and they were driving back down the motorway.
Yep, down the M5, and apparently they heard their dog whining in the back of the car, and Claire, who bought the car, turned around and didn't believe she could say that there was a snake wrapped around the dog. So they rapidly pulled over into the hard shoulder. She got out of the car, got the dog out of the car, left the snake in the back. At that point, the motorway police came over to try and help because they thought there'd been a crash. And essentially they took a picture, and then Keith disappeared again into the car. They confirmed that it was a harmless corn snake, and Claire and Gav were happy to carry on down to Bristol in the car.
Amazing. And of course the story was then picked up by the local BBC down there,
Yeah.
which is how you found out about
I
it.
found out. And I phoned BBC to say I think that's my snake, which they couldn't believe, and I explained the story. And then luckily they said, well, we can interview you, and then hopefully we can try and locate the owners of the car and get Keith back.
So you went to get him last night?
Yeah, I drove down from Sheffield last night to Bristol to get him back.
Well, look,
last
Jack,
night.
tell me a little bit more about Keith, why he's so special and what he's good at doing.
Well,
Is he slimy, first of all?
no, he is not slimy at all.
Oh, look.
What do you like doing
kind-
to him?
I like reading books like Diary of the Wimpy Kids to him.
But it's just great to have him home, isn't it? Because
Yeah.
you were really worried about him.
Yeah.
Oh, what have you got, treats have you got for him?
We have a load of Like dead mice.
Oh, because that's what they eat.
Yeah,
Wow.
it is a bit gross.
Well, can I have a hold as we say goodbye to the viewers and see? Oh dear, this is. I'm being brave. What do I do? Put him around my neck. You're joking. Hello. This might be the last time I see you, viewers.
Oh, I can't bear it.
He's a brave lad, our Ian, isn't he?
We should probably say Ian is safe and well, as is the dog who Keith wrapped its leg around, so the dog was fine in the incident.
It all ended happily ever after.
Do you know what that reminded me of? Do you remember that Britney Spears performance where she had that snake around her neck? That's how Ian looked then, I thought.
Keith's a little bit smaller.
Ian.
I thought it looked like that. Anyway, anyone else? Feeling autumnal today. Temperatures have taken a real dive, haven't they? But before we get onto that, let's have a look at some of your lovely weather pictures. Look at that, some gorgeous yellows and oranges there captured. And, you know, we've had one that was sent in not very long ago as well. We switched to the next Weather Watcher picture. Look at that, a gorgeous sunset there. So we've had some clear spells today. Keep on sending those pictures in. The address, of course, is bbc.co.uk/weatherwatchers. We love seeing them. Hi everyone. So yes, certainly feeling colder today. We're hanging on to that cold air over the next couple of days as well. Tomorrow morning starts off on a cold note. I think we'll see some patchy frost. It'll be bright though. All change by the time we get to the afternoon. Patchy rain gets to us later as a weather front sinks southwards towards us. Overnight then, clear spells. As a result, of course, that's how the temperatures go down, the heat rises, temperatures straight down, 1 or 2 Celsius. These are temperatures around town, as always, but, you know, across some rural parts, I think we'd probably be lower than that, below 0 potentially. Let's have a look at the high waters tomorrow then. Scarborough at 5:52 and 18:07, and the sun rises tomorrow morning at 7:11. So, brightening up throughout the course of the day as this area of high pressure just about hangs around, stays in charge, but it does actually leave us because this weather front sort of helps push it out of the way. It's all tied up into an area of low pressure further north. It looks quite OTT here on the graphics with lots of big blobs of rain, but I think the heaviest of the rain on high ground, it'll be cloudy with patchy rain for most of us across Yorkshire and North Derbyshire. Cloudier along eastern coastal parts from the word go. And tomorrow's temperatures, look at that, 7, 8, maybe, if we're lucky, 9 Celsius. Look at the wind arrows, southwesterly winds, so at least we won't have that horrible, chilly, northerly wind chill tomorrow. Earlier on I mentioned low pressure, which is kind of spoiling things as far as fair weather is concerned. There it is, it sticks around. Further showers over the next couple of days. Cold air continues to flood down from the north, but I think we will see plenty of sunny spells, guys, but we just have to watch out for a couple of showers.
Thank you, Owen. I'm rather scarred by the thought of Ian White as Britney Spears, actually.
Sorry about that.
Wasn't she wearing a sparkly bikini?
She was.
From what I
I think
remember.
he's got one, actually.
Well, it takes all sorts, doesn't it? So that's as far as we go. Amy's back at 10 o'clock. From all of us, enjoy the rest of the evening.